Good morning, students. I hope you all are fine. I, Navninder Kaur, your English teacher, and today I'm going to introduce a new chapter from your English book, Behave, and the name of the chapter is The Snake and the Mirror. This chapter is written by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, and now I'm going to start the reading. Before you read, do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? What do you think about at such times? Have you ever seen a dog, a cat, or a bird look into a mirror? What do you think it sees? So, everybody likes to look in the mirror. So, have you ever seen any animal or any bird who is looking in the mirror and what they thinks while they are looking into a mirror? Now, read this humorous story about a doctor and snake and a mirror. First of all, I would like to tell you the writer tells us the story which was told to him by a homeopathic doctor. As we see from the title, the snake and the mirror are the two most important things in the story. Now, the first point, has a snake ever coiled itself round any part of your body? A full blooded cobra. All of us fell silent. The question came from the homeopath. The topic came up when we were discussing snakes. We listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. So now, the homeopathic doctor is narrating the story. He asked the writer and the group if anyone had ever been wrapped. Coiled means wrapped by a cobra snake. The audience became silent due to the fear of the cobra snake. Then the doctor narrated his story. Here, it was a hot summer night. About 10 o'clock, I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. It was a hot summer night and nearly it was 10 o'clock. As he was returning home after having his dinner at the restaurant, and when he opened the door of his room, he heard a noise and he didn't react because he was used to such noises. And it was the noise of rats. So beside this, there were so many rats in his room. So he was used to the noise. There was not even a light in the doctor's room. So he lighted the kerosene lamp with the match box. The house was not electrified. It was a small rented room. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. What is the meaning of meager? That is small in quantity. It is written over here in the book. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase along with some shirts and dhotis. I also possessed one solitary black coat which I was then wearing. What is the meaning of solitary? Solitary means single. Okay, in this paragraph, he is explaining that he had taken a small room on the rent. As he had just started his medical practice, he was earning very less, that is, meager. That is why he was living in such a shabby, dirty condition. He told the writer that he had just 60 rupees in his bag. Further, he told that he had some shirts and dhotis to wear. He also had a black colored coat which he was wearing at the time of the incident. Now, next paragraph. I took off my black coat, white shirt and not so white vest and hung them up. I opened the two windows in the room. It was an outer room with one wall facing the open yard. It had a tiled roof with one supporting gables. What is the meaning of gable? That is upper part of a wall below a sloping roof that rested on the beam over the wall. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic. There was a regular traffic of the rats to and from the beam. I made my bed and pulled it close to the wall. I lay down, but I couldn't sleep. I got up and went out to the veranda for a little air, but the wind god seemed to have taken time off. In this para, it is written over there that he removed his coat, his shirt, and his vest. He says that the vest was not so white, which means that it was dirty. Then he opened the windows. The room which he had taken on rent was on the outside of the house, and one wall of the room faced the garden. The roof had tiles on it, and the gable was supported by the beams. Inside the room, there was no roof. The beam on which the gable was supported was full of rats, which went in and out of the room through it. So he set his bed near the wall, and then he lay down to sleep, but could not sleep. It seemed that wind god had taken him off, means that as the wind was not blowing, the wind god had taken a day off. He was on a holiday, and so wind was not blowing at all. Now the next paragraph, I went back into the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the box beneath the table, beneath means under the table, and took out a book, the Materia Medica. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and a large mirror. A small comb lay beside the mirror. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is a near one. I took a look. In those days, I was a great admirer of beauty, and I believed in making myself look handsome. I was unmarried and I was a doctor. I felt I had to make my presence felt. I picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and adjusted the parting so that it looked straight and neat. Again, I heard that sound from above. Now, as he came back to his room and sat on the chair, and he opened the box under the table and took out a book named Materia Medica. He kept it on the same table on which a lamp, a mirror, and a small comb was lying. He opened it and sat down. As he was sitting in front of the mirror, he looked at his image in the mirror. He says that he was a great admirer of beauty. As he was a young man, he liked to appreciate beautiful things and wanted to improve his looks to look more handsome. As he was unmarried and he was a doctor too, he was a eligible bachelor also. So he wanted to make people know that he was also available. He combed his hair, trying to set them properly. When he was combing his hair, he again heard the same sound from above but ignored it. Now, the next para. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. I looked into the mirror and smiled. It was an attractive smile. I made another earth shaking decision. I would always keep that attractive smile on my face to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor too, on top of it. Again came that noise from above. Now, in this para, it is clear that he looked carefully in the mirror and decided that he would shave daily and grow thin mustaches because he thought that he would look better and more handsome with it. The doctor is repeating that he was not married and was a doctor too. So, he wanted to say that he was supposed to look very handsome. He was very good looking, so he could get a better match for himself. He also appreciated himself, and another thing that he decided was that he would always keep smiling because he looked better when he smiled. The doctor was being ironic when he said that to keep smiling was an earth shaking decision. He is stressing that he was a bachelor and added to it that he was also a doctor. So, after that, again that noise came from above. Next paragraph. I got up, paced up and down the room. Then another lovely thought struck me. I would marry. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money and a good medical practice. She had to be fat for a valid reason. If I made some silly mistake and needed to run away, she should not be able to run after me and catch me. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. There were no more sounds from above. Suddenly, there came a dull thud. Thud means a sound. as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. Surely nothing to worry about. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The snake's landing on me and my turning were simultaneous. Now, it is explained that as the doctor got up from his chair and started walking up and down in the room, he decided to marry a woman doctor and one who had lots of money and good medical practice, or a fat girl, so that if he makes some mistake and his wife chases him in anger to hit him, she will not be able to run fast and catch him. Thinking all these things, the doctor again sat on the chair. Now the sound had stopped, but all of a sudden, something fell down, making the sound of thud. It felt like some rubber tube had fallen. But then he thought of running around to see what had fallen. As soon as the doctor turned, he saw that a big fat snake had crawled over the chair and sat on his shoulders. The timing of the doctor's turning around and the snake's landing on his shoulder was same. Next, seventh paragraph. I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing. The snake slithered along my shoulder. Meaning of slithered is twisting or crawling, and coiled around my left arm above the elbow. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. It would not be correct to say merely that I sat there holding my breath. I was turned to stone, but my mind was very active. The door opened into darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in the flesh. In this paragraph, it is explained that he did not panic, jump, or tremble. Even he didn't shiver, didn't scream. It happened so fast that he did not have any time to react. The snake moved in such a way that it wrapped itself on the doctor's left arm like a coil. It was in such a position just 3 or 4 inches away from his face that if he would have moved slightly, the snake could have bitten him. The doctor says that he was not only holding his breath but had turned into a stone just like a statue. But he was thinking what he should do next because his mind was very active on that time. There was darkness all around him. There was only single light, the light of the lamp. That's it. Now, the next paragraph. I felt then the great presence of the creator of this world and this universe. God was there. Suppose I said something and he didn't like it. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little heart the words, "Oh God." There was some pain in my left arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod, no, a rod made of molten fire, was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. The arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What could I do? Now, in this paragraph, as the doctor was in trouble, he was not able to do anything, so he started thinking of God. In his heart, the doctor was praying to God to save his life. As the snake has coiled itself around his arm, it was experiencing a lot of pain. He was feeling as if a thick molten rod made of lead was crushing his arm and breaking it. He felt very helpless. He couldn't do anything to save himself. Next paragraph. At my slightest movement, the snake would strike me. Death lurked 4 inches away. Suppose it struck, what was the medicine I had to take? There were no medicines in the room. I was but a poor, foolish, and stupid doctor. I forgot my danger and smiled feebly at myself. It seemed as if God appreciated that. The snake turned its head, it looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. I do not claim that it was the first snake that had ever looked into a mirror, but it was certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? Was it trying to make an important decision about growing a mustache or using eyeshadow and mascara or wearing a vermilion spot on its forehead? Now, in this paragraph, it is explained that he knew that if he moved a bit, the snake would attack him. Death was very near. It was sitting at a distance of 4 inches. He thought that if the snake bit him, then what would he do? Which medicine he would take? And then he recalled that there was no medicine in his room. He felt that he was a poor and stupid doctor. He was feeling very weak and he did not have any way to come out of the situation. He smiled at his foolishness. The doctor felt that God appreciated the doctor's realization of his mistake. The snake moved its head to the other side and saw the mirror. It looked at the mirror and it saw its own reflection in it. Doctor was surprised because the snake was looking at itself in the mirror very carefully. He was thinking that maybe it was admiring its beauty. He thought that maybe the snake was thinking of growing a mustache or maybe wearing a eyeshadow and mascara to look more pretty, or maybe it was thinking of wearing a red colored bindi on its forehead. Now the next paragraph. I didn't know anything for certain. What sex was this snake? Was it male or female? I will never know. For the snake unwound itself from my arm and slowly slithered into my lap. From there it crept onto the table and moved towards the mirror. Perhaps it wanted to enjoy its reflection at closer quarters. I was no mere image cut in granite. I was certainly a man of flesh and blood. Still holding my breath, I got up from the chair. I quietly went out through the door into the veranda. From there, I leapt into the yard and ran for all I was worth. In this paragraph, it is explained that the doctor didn't know whether it was a male or a female snake. Yes, then, snake crawled from his arm and moved down into his lap. From there, it jumped and started crawling over the table. It crawled very close to the mirror and started looking at itself. The doctor thought that maybe snake wanted to look at itself and have a closer look at its appearance. As the snake crawled and got down from him, he came back to life. Till now, he had stopped his breath because he was scared of the snake. Now, he quietly moved out of the door, jumped from the garden, and ran away. All the people who were listening to the doctor's story got relief and took a breath after they came to know that he was saved. And someone from that group asked him whether his wife was fat, and it is written in the last of the paragraph of 10th. Each of us heaved a sigh of relief. Somebody asked, Doctor, is your wife very fat? So now, next paragraph. No, the doctor said, God willed otherwise. My life companion is a thin, reedy person with the gift of a sprinter. Someone else asked, Doctor, when you ran, did the snake follow you? So now he replied that his wife was thin and tall, yes, like a reed plant, because God didn't want his wife to be fat. What is reed? Reed means slim or thin, you can say. So she was thin and could run very fast. Another person from the group asked him whether the snake chased him. Now, on the next page, the doctor replied, I ran and ran till I reached a friend's house. Immediately I smeared oil. Smeared means covered with oil all over myself and took a bath. I changed into fresh clothes. The next morning at about 8:30, I took my friend and one or two others to my room to move my things from there. But we found we had little to carry. Some thief had removed most of my things. The room had been cleaned out, but not really. The thief had left behind one thing as a final insult. Now, in this paragraph, it is explained that, as in the last paragraph, somebody was asking to the doctor about his wife. Now, in this paragraph, the doctor replied that his wife was thin and tall because God didn't want his wife to be fat. So, she was thin and could run very fast. Another person from the group asked him whether the snake chased him. He replied he ran till he reached a friend's house. There, he took an oil massage, took bath, and wore fresh clothes. He didn't know if the snake had chased him or not. The next day, around 8:30 in the morning, the doctor, along with two of his friends, went to the room to bring his belongings from there. There was not much stuff to take. Someone had stolen most of the things from his room, but left behind only one thing. He thought that the thing which he left behind was to insult him. Right? In the last paragraph, what was that? I asked. The writer asked the doctor, what was that thing? The doctor said, my vest, the dirty one. So what he replied? He replied that he left the vest which was hanging on the wall. The fellow had such a sense of cleanliness, the rascal could have taken it and used it after washing it with soap and water. So, the thief was having so much sense of cleanliness that he left the dirty vest there only. He says that the naughty thief could have taken it along with him, washed it with soap, and could have used it. Did you see the snake the next day, doctor? Someone asked the doctor if he saw the snake the next day. The doctor laughed. I have never seen it since it was a snake which was taken with its own beauty. He laughed and replied that after that night he never saw that snake. Maybe the snake was attracted towards its own beauty. So now this is all about the chapter, and I hope all of you have understood the explanation of this chapter. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.